Hello, this is Mrs. Heathcote with Grade 4 Mid-Module 3 Review Test for Engage New York. We're going to finish up number 5. I made it to C. Last year, Mr. Peterson had a fence all the way around his garden. He can reuse all of the fence he had around the garden last year, but he needs to buy more fencing to go around this year's garden. That makes sense because this year's garden is bigger. How many more meters of fencing is needed for this year's garden than last year's? So you have to start by remembering how big last year's garden was. So last year's was a width of 4 and a length of 8. So when I draw my new one, I'm going to put that on my paper so that I can see it. So we had a width of 4 and a length of 8 in last year's garden. And then in this year's garden, remember we ended up with a width of 8 and a length of 24. So this is a perimeter problem. So when we do perimeter equals length plus width plus width. There are a couple other ways to do it, but I'll just show you the one way. So for my old fencing, it would have been 8 plus 8 plus 4 plus 4. Which would be 16 plus 8, which is 24 meters around, right? So that's like if I walked 8 here, and then up 4, that's 12, plus 8 more would be 20, and then down those 4 would be 24 meters to go all the way around. So he has 24 meters of fencing. But then I need to know how many meters I need for all of this year's fencing, right? So on his new one, the perimeter is going to equal 24 plus 24 plus 8 plus 8, right? And so that gives me 48 plus 16. And that one I actually like to add up and down. So I get 8 plus 6 is 14. The 1 gets bundled into the tens column. 4 plus 2 is 64. So if he were going to go out and buy brand new fencing for his new garden, he would need 64 meters. But he already has 24. So we can subtract that. 64 meters minus 24 meters, he needs 40 meters more of fencing. So that's what we would write for a sentence. Our question is, how many more meters of fencing does he need? So we would write, he needs 40 more meters of fencing. You can make your sentence better, say for his new garden or after recycling he still needs, that kind of stuff. All right, good job. Let's go on to the last one. Part D says, last year Mr. Peterson was able to plant 4 rows of carrots with 14 plants in each row. This year he plans to plant twice as many rows with twice as many carrot plants in each row. How many carrot plants will he plant this year? Write a multiplication equation to solve and assess the reasonableness of your answer. So let's go ahead and start. So if last year he was able to plant 4 rows with 14 each, let's multiply that to see how many plants he planted. So 4 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1 or bundle the 1 into the tens place. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So last time he was able to have 56 plants. But this time he wants twice as many rows and twice as many plants in each row. So instead of 4, now he's going to make it, right, that would be 8. And instead of 14, it's going to come out even bigger. So that would be 28 in that part, right? So instead of making it messy like that, I am going to go ahead and just draw a new box. So my new garden, which is bigger, would have 28 and then 8 rows. I have to write a multiplication equation to solve. So 28 times 8 is going to be what it is. So I don't write them like that. I write them up and down. And so we go 8 times 8 is 64. Make sure you bundle that 6 into the tens place. And be careful because now we're going to have to multiply and then add. Multiply and then add. Standard algorithm, that's what they're testing, is if your brain can go back and forth. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 6. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yep, I used my fingers to count. I'm not afraid to admit it. So, how many carrots will he plant this year? So I would write my word problem, word answer. Right, this year he will plant 224 carrot plants. Now I have to find out if my answer is reasonable. In my class, when we're checking reasonable, we draw red arrows and we redo the math. One of the mistakes lots of kids make is they'll be like, oh, 224, that's about 200, so yes, my answer is reasonable. That does not help. That does not give you any information because all you did is estimate your answer. Well, if your answer is wrong, then your estimate would be wrong. So let's go ahead and try a different way. So 28 and 8, I need to round at least one of the numbers to decide if it's close. So I'm going to go ahead and go 28 times 10 because 10 is an easier number to multiply by than 8. 28 times 10 would be 280. Those are close. They're both in the 200s. So yes, that would be correct. And there you go. Actually, I'm looking at the problem and realizing we didn't actually need to do that, find out the area. We just needed the area of this one, which was 224. Nice job. So I would write, yes, my answer is reasonable because my estimate, right, 280, is close to my actual answer of 224. I apologize that it got bad there. What I wanted it to say was, yes, my answer is reasonable because my estimate of 280 is close to my actual answer of 224. And don't forget your period. Good luck on your test tomorrow.